Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Selena and today I want to make vanilla slice. Now vanilla slice, if you don't know, is basically a set custard that lives between two layers of puff pastry. It can have a couple of different things on the top, and one of those can be just a dusting of icing sugar. You can get a vanilla icing or frosting, and that can be pink or white or some kind of marbled in between, and you can also get a passion fruit icing. Now that's my experience with vanilla slice. You might have a different experience. It is an Aussie favourite. Bakeries here, they go into competitions on their vanilla slice. So today I want to make a homemade version. And the other day when I was scrolling social media, I saw someone make vanilla slice using Sayo biscuits. Now Sayo biscuits are basically this. They're like a water cracker. They're a square and they're kind of flavourless really. And I saw this video and I was like, wow, I'm going to give that a try. So today we are going to make Cheats vanilla slice, and the reason I'm going to do it using my Sayos instead of puff pastry, which is the traditional way, is because every time I've ever made vanilla slice, cutting it makes a mess of it, okay? You have to have a really sharp serrated knife, and even then with little to no pressure, I still managed to make a mess. So I thought if this works, which we're going to do together, we're going to test this, this could be the game-changing solution to everyone's homemade vanilla slice. I was also tossing up between Salada crackers. The only reason I chose to follow this video's sort of inspiration, I guess, and use the Sayo is because, well, there's no salt on them, firstly, so it's less savoury tasting, and they are a bit thicker. So a Salada is, I think, similar to what maybe Americans would call a saltine. So it's more of it's a cracker that you can crack into 4 different ones, like it's got perforations in it. It's a great cracker, but I think it might be too thin and maybe just a little too salty. But if you had them, you didn't have these, you could try, right? This is going to be a much cheaper slice or treat, dessert, than buying them from the bakery. So I have actually bought the Woolworths version of Sayo, which is called traditional cracker squares, okay? So that was $1 right there. And I am using a 20 centimetre by 20 centimetre by 20 centimetre square cake tin. It is 6 centimetres tall. I do want my vanilla slice or my custard part to have quite a bit of depth, and I'm hoping, because this recipe is one that, yes, I took inspiration from this video, but the custard part is the custard that I kind of just make. So I'm hoping I'm making enough. If I think by the end of this video that I could have done better, I will definitely let you know in the comments down below, which is where you'll find the list of ingredients that I used today. I will let you know down below if I think that maybe you needed more or less custard or whatever. So all I've done to get started is I have lined my square baking tin, cake tin, with 2 pieces of baking paper. The reason I've done that, I want this to come out easily, okay? It's not going to have the neatest edges based on the fact that I've just crumpled my paper. You could spend a bit more effort and time making that neater. Inside, what I'm going to do is lay down. This should fit 3 in a row. It does, perfect. Just like that. I've got 3 next to each other. I'll bring you in and show you that a bit closer. Okay, so I've got my 3 in a row. I'm going to cover the whole base of this, which should be 9. Okay, it's a little tight, but it's going to be fine. Okay, now what we need to do, so now we're going to make the custard, all right? We need crackers still for the top, so I'm just gonna set that aside and the rest of my crackers over there. We're going to need a saucepan. This is an egg-free custard, and I'm going to be using milk. Now this milk was in my freezer, so it may have split. If you freeze milk and it splits, you can still use it for cooking, okay? It doesn't actually change being able to use it. So I'm thinking a litre of milk. Hopefully that's enough. So I've got my scales here. I'm weighing out a litre. All right. Now, vanilla slice is sweet, all right? So my custard is going to be sweet. And especially since my sayos are not sweet at all, I am going to add quite a bit of sugar. So I'm going to add half a cup, although you could probably get away with adding anywhere from a quarter. So it's a little bit on taste. If you like your custard to be a little less sweet, go for a quarter of a cup. But if you are a bit of a sweet tooth like me, half a cup. It's going to make it nice and sweet. We also want to add some custard powder. So vanilla slice, similar to a custard tart, it is like a set custard. So it's not, when we cut it, it shouldn't fall out, all right? So we are going to add a fair bit of custard powder as well. And I will add, if you make custard at home and you want it to taste like store-bought custard tarts or store-bought vanilla slice, I highly recommend this particular brand of custard powder. This is the one I think tastes the most like the commercial ones, all right? It's got a really strong vanilla flavor, and yeah, it's just, I find it really nice. Now, I got this from Woolworths, all right? But if you have a preferred custard powder, by all means use that. This one is not gluten-free though, so keep that in mind. If you're looking for custard powder that is gluten-free, this one won't work for you. So I'm going to add half a cup of custard powder, or thereabouts, close enough. I also like to add extra vanilla, but that's because I love vanilla. It's my favorite flavor in the whole world. So there's a teaspoon of vanilla in there as well. I'm just going to give this a whisk. Everything is cold at this point. All right, so we just give this a whisk. When you feel like your sugar is nicely dissolved, you can take that over to the heat. You want to keep it moving. We don't want the custard to stick at all to the bottom. Okay, so straight away I noticed this is not enough custard. So what I've done is I've added another half a litre of milk, and I've added another quarter of a cup of custard powder. I could also add another quarter of a cup of this sugar if I wanted to. So I will make sure down in the description box I have my updated amounts, all right? So what that does equal is 1.5 litres of milk, 3/4 of a cup of custard powder, 1/2 to 3/4 of a cup of sugar. I haven't added any more vanilla. I will if I think I need to. I will give it a taste before I do that. Yeah, so that is something I did while the camera was off, because when I put it on the stove, I realized that it was not going to be tall enough for my liking. So that's what I've done, okay? It's not that you can't use just 1 litre, it's more a case of it's just not gonna be as tall as I want it to be. All right, my custard is starting to thicken. Once it gets thick, we do need to work relatively quickly to get it into our pan or into our cake tin before it sets too much. You can let it cool just slightly, but we don't want to be allowing it to get cold in our pot. All right, you can see how thick this is, and even as it's starting to cool just that long, which is no time at all, it's thickening even more. So what we need to do, very carefully, give it a taste so that I can tell you if I would adjust the sugar at all. No, that's delicious, just like custard tart. All right, so now we just want to pour this, and it's hot, really carefully into our cake tin. Carefully, because I don't want it to move my sayos. And we're not leaving anyone behind. Get all of that out. Okay, and then another layer on top. Press them down a little bit. We do want them to be stuck to the custard. Okay, so for the vanilla slice, that is essentially it, other than our icing. Now, we don't do the icing until we are finished, until our slice is cold, okay? This does take a good day to chill in the fridge. You could make it in the morning and eat it at night. It will all depend on how quickly your custard sets, how thick you got it, okay? From working with that then, I feel like I've got the right quantity of custard powder to milk ratio. From my little taste test, it tastes perfect. It actually isn't too sweet. It's really quite delicious. And if you find when you taste your custard, oh, it's not quite sweet enough, that can kind of help you indicate whether you need to do a sweet topping, a sweet icing like the vanilla icing, or if maybe the passion fruit icing is going to be okay. Or even just a light dusting of icing sugar. If you find your custard is perfectly sweet, you don't want to add any more sweetness, just a light dusting of icing sugar. If you wanted to make this not the cheats variety, you can of course cook off 2 pieces of puff pastry. Everything else is the same, except you use 2 pieces of puff pastry that are fully cooked. You place them in some kind of container with sides, like your cake tin, or cut them to size maybe. Add your custard, the other cooked piece of puff pastry, pop it all in the fridge, let it set, and then only when it's set, we can ice it or dust it with icing sugar and cut it. I will bring you back at the end and show you what this cuts like. While I was making this though, I was thinking, I wonder if this would work with alternative milks, okay? Obviously this one's not gluten-free because that custard powder that I prefer to use is gluten. It does contain gluten. You can, of course, get gluten-free custard powders, so there's that option. But for someone who doesn't want the dairy, I'm not sure about the crackers, I'd have to check the packet, but I'm wondering, can we make this with alternate milk? Now, I have almond milk, so what I'm gonna do, while this is in the fridge, I'm gonna quickly whip up a single serve of almond milk custard, which I have not made before, using exactly the same quantities, but scaled right down, okay, to be a single serve. And I'm going to see if almond milk would work, if that's something that someone out there may need. So I'm gonna get this in the fridge. If you want to stick around and see me quickly whip this together with a bit of almond milk to see if it works, that's what will be next. But at the end of the video, I will show you how this sets up, and I will make sure down in the description box I do leave feedback on things like the additional milk and stuff like that, okay? Okay, so for my almond milk version, I'm doing a single serve. The reason I'm doing a single serve is because I don't mind if I waste a little bit of ingredients, but with the cost of food these days, I certainly don't want to be wasting a full batch worth, okay? So I'm going to attempt a single serve as a tester, then I'll know and I can share with you if it works. So I didn't have a small enough little cake tin, but what I did have is this little tiny casserole dish, okay? I've put baking paper in it, and then I have actually put like a piece of cookie cutter holder in there. I'm just trying to form my paper to be closer to the square shape that I require. The little casserole dish is quite a bit bigger than my single cracker, but it's still going to overflow the edges a little bit, but it will be okay. So that's what I've done for making that. I'm going to do almond milk, as I said, because that's what I have. But I think, if it works, coconut milk, the kind that you get in this sort of container, I feel like that would probably be a really good substitute. I want to do a cup, 250 mils. It may be too much, but we'll see. So about 250 mils, I'm thinking, yeah, let's go with that. I'm also going with 2 heaped tablespoons of my custard powder. Same amount with sugar. Okay, my 2 tablespoons of sugar. Just a little bit of vanilla. So I've done like a quarter of a cupful. So the colour is a little different because almond milk is not as beautiful and white as fresh cow milk, but it's okay. Let's get this on. I'll get this onto the stove, I'll thicken it up, and then I'll bring you back when I'm pouring it in there. It worked, okay? The custard has thickened, and that's the same quantities, just scaled down. So if you need to make this with alternative milks, I think it's still a winner. I'm going to give it a quick taste. I can smell that it's not, I can smell there's a little bit, you can smell that almond flavour, that strong almond flavour, okay? That's where I think the coconut milk in the same sort of packaging. I found it's pretty mild, so tastes great. I mean, for a milk alternative, it's not as good as the real milk, but if you need a milk alternative, it's pretty good. See if we can make this makeshift thing work. I'm going to pop my single cracker on top. As you can see, it's not as tidy, okay? Hopefully I'll be able to cut this to make it tidier. But yeah, there we go. I'm going to pop it in the fridge, and I'll make an icing to go on the big one. Okay, so my vanilla slice is nice and set in the fridge. I'm going to make the icing. So in my bowl, I have a cup of icing sugar. I have a heaped teaspoon of butter. I'm going to add about a teaspoon of vanilla. You can add a teaspoon of passion fruit pulp if you want as well. Or alternatively, and I'm going to add a little bit of water to this, and that is basically my icing. If you want, again, you can add pink food colouring, so that's another option. Water, not too much. It's probably a tablespoon of water. And so far the sayos seem to be holding up okay. So this might just be the easiest dessert ever. I'm not ready to cut yet, but I will just get my icing on and back into the fridge. I want this to be really, really cold before I try to cut it, simply because if custard isn't cold, it's going to risk leaking out, and then it's not vanilla slice, right? So hopefully this is enough. I don't like the icing to be too thick when it comes to vanilla slice. I feel like it just doesn't need it to be too thick, but that is a personal preference. Some people really do love the really thick icing and the pink icing, so feel free to do whatever you want to do if you choose to make this. That is the joy of making it yourself, right? You get to make it work for your taste buds or your family's taste buds, whoever is eating it. So that 1 cup mixture has just covered my crackers, my Sayos, and a little bit has flaked off, but there we go. I'm going to put it back in the fridge. I want this to be really, really cold. So it'll be later this evening probably when I go to cut it, but I'll show you, and hopefully it tastes delicious. I'm going to put the icing on my little tiny almond custard as well. I'll just put it on the cracker because I am going to try and cut off the extra custard, okay? So I did just make a couple of tablespoons worth, which was too much. So just a little bit on that one, put it back into the fridge when it's really, 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 really cold. I'll cut it right along those edges and hopefully we have a nice, tidy little vanilla slice made with almond milk. All right, so my little almond custard is set, and probably because it's in such a small little individual container. Okay, so I'm going to attempt to clean this one up. Like I said, I haven't actually made vanilla slice using Sayos, and I also have never made a dairy-free version of the custard. So this is new to me, but apart from the colour, obviously from the almond milk not being white, it's obviously got a colour to it. It has made the custard somewhat of a green colour, so it's not quite as appealing looking, but there we go. It has trimmed up really nicely. Now, hopefully I can save you. Yeah, there we go. So there you are. That is the vanilla slice using Sayo and almond milk custard. So that looks pretty good, I think. So I tasted a bit of those offcuts. It tastes really nice. You can tell it's almond milk and that it's not regular custard. But for someone who is chasing an alternative to the dairy, it might work really well. All right, let's see. Might need another set of hands. Get out. See why I did paper? To make that so much simpler. All right. Yes, we are set. Colour is so much more appealing. Okay. Don't worry about this coloration. If you can see that, that is literally staining from that metal pan, the metal cake tin, okay? It's not mold or anything like that. If you do make this and you find that your metal pan ends up giving you a different color, it's just like a darker color, you just cut it off, just like I'm doing here. It's perfectly fine. All right. So the custard is lovely and set, just like we want it to be. I just need to find where my this is the real test here, because this is where, if you use puff pastry, this is where the problems happen, because it's often like really hard to cut it. But not a serrated knife, first of all, just a regular knife. All right, let's see how you go. Whoop. Look at that. That is what vanilla slice looks like. Now this one's slightly messy looking, and I could clean it up a little bit. But there we go. So there you have it, 2 varieties of vanilla slice. If you're chasing a cheats version, here is one definitely to try. I'm going to give these a little taste. I want to see how they taste with that sayo compared to what I know they should taste like with puff pastry. So I'm going to get both of them, give them both a little test taste. I'll try the almond first. Again, it's the colour. It's weirding me out because it's green. It's really yummy. Really, I mean, it's so close to being genuine. So like the sayo component, I mean, you know, if someone served this to you, I don't think you'd question it, okay? It's really, really close to the original bakery style. The icing on top really does make it, and I think even though when I tasted the custard, when it was warm, it tasted sweet enough, I'm not getting a lot of sweetness in that custard, okay? But it's perfect with just that little bit of icing on top that brings enough sweetness. The sayo has no flavour at all. But yeah, there you go. I hope you enjoyed this one. So thank you for spending time with me today. I hope you enjoyed this recipe. I will make sure everything's down in the description box for you. Don't forget to hit the like button if you liked the video, the subscribe button if you haven't already, and don't forget when you do subscribe to hit that little bell. That will let you know when I put a new video out. I do appreciate seeing all of your comments. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you have a fantastic week. Bye.